My brother and I were really fortunate to grow up in a wooded area. As kids, we loved building tree houses, forts, even a log cabin or two. So on a normal day when school was over, I'd quickly jump on my bike, ride home, change into my play clothes. Yeah, there was a difference. I'd grab a hammer, a saw, axe, nails, and a few scraps of wood, throw them all into a wheelbarrow, and head for the woods. Usually when the treehouse was close to completion, my brother and I would create a club. One I recall was Pioneers Club, named after two of my childhood TV heroes, Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone. Yeah, they were both played by the same actor. So if you built the treehouse, you were automatically appointed the club's president. Well, at least that was my role. I made my younger brother vice president basically because, well, there was no one else. When my best friend came to visit from out of town, I appointed him vice president and demoted my brother to the person in charge of nobody, which actually wasn't that much of a stretch. As vice president, he was already experiencing that. So much for democracy between brothers. The chief responsibility for the person in charge of nobody was to run home, make sandwiches, and return with them intact. If he didn't return within a reasonable amount of time, we just assumed he either ate them or ran into Mom. Now, my mother had the amazing ability to come up with a bunch of chores just by seeing your face. Well, not all was perfect in Frontierland. There was a couple of neighborhood kids that were bullies. They'd sometimes wreck our forts just for the so-called fun of it, but we pretty much flew under their radar. I learned early on that either good or bad behavior usually stemmed from one's home life and surroundings. I learned that we're incredibly different from one another, and it really doesn't matter whether you're the so-called self-appointed president or the person in charge of nobody. We all seek to be valued. I also learned that life is the result of many educational episodes, not the sum of, but something greater, which really makes it impossible to define the whole of anything or anyone by a single encounter. We're all works in progress, striving to become something greater than what we were yesterday. We're all trying to compensate for our weaknesses while making the most out of our strengths. We all love and belong to somebody. We're somebody's friend, parent, uncle, aunt, boss, employee, son, daughter, co-worker, brother, partner, sister, mentor, husband, and wife. So if this is true, why do we have this huge gulf between us and them? I understand that no two people are alike, see the world, or think alike. Differences of opinion and beliefs are inevitable. But one thing I've noticed growing up is when one person or group begins to go down the path of absolutes, or begins to view others as being anything less than themselves, their so-called truth and or argument loses the very legs it might have once stood upon. The wisdom of any decision or act can only be measured by its contributive factors to the whole. If one doesn't encompass the whole of things, they could end up contradicting the very tenets of their belief. For instance, love is defined by what it is, not by what you may think it is. Obviously, if we've only come to love ourselves, we've lost its true meaning. Its totality is always much more than an individual's perception or experience. I truly love my children and always saw them as being special. But doesn't every parent feel that way? Why would my children be any more or less special than someone else's? When you think about it, what are children really? They're just adults who haven't grown up yet. And what are adults? They're just older children still pursuing their dreams, still searching for meaning and value, still making mistakes and getting into trouble, still curious, still on the path of self-discovery, still trying to make sense of the world in and around themselves. When I was a kid building those tree houses, my whole world was my immediate family, the kids down the street. So my decisions were limited by what I could then comprehend of my surroundings. When I became a teenager, my world got a bit bigger. When I went to college, when I got married, when I became a dad. Life keeps providing us a larger framework to make better choices from. It consistently pushes us forward into new experiences of truth and growth. This expanded experiential pattern suggests to me a reality of cosmic proportions, the consciousness of an enlarged divine family unified by purpose and motivated by love. This scenario goes way beyond the golden rule. It compels us to not only treat others the way we'd want to be treated, but to begin treating them as if they were part of your own immediate family. Like one would treat their mom, their dad, or even their own children. So, if I were the dad of every person, I'd naturally be a lot more patient, forgiving, empathetic, accepting, and loving. I'd want them to become their best unique selves, to pursue their own dreams and goals. I would do whatever I could to keep them out of harm's way. I especially wouldn't love them any less if their opinions or beliefs were different than my own. The only way you can have a familial, successful whole is with wholly successful parts. The world will become enlightened only when each individual truly desires it. And how does that begin to happen? Well, my guess is by loving more and loving more of. Laws help us to prevent harm, crime, greed, theft, etc., but only love applied can truly annihilate them. Obviously, a circumscribed view doesn't allow one to see the beginning and the end of things. Wholeness is dependent on each part, and presently each part is only a shadow of what it can potentially be. We are a lot more than our behavior. Hate rises and it falls, usually due to the lack or degree of love present. This behooves us to view our brethren not so much by who and what they are, but by who and what they are becoming. Looks like this is going to take a lot more patience than I can conceive of. But in the interim, we could try to look upon others and ourselves, the incomplete, the ignorant, the lost, sometimes bully-like, insensitive, loving, and imperfect souls we all are, with a God-like eye. That eye that sees the beginning and the end. That eye that sees each child as one of their own. All living within one unified, loving, purposeful, perfected cosmic family. Impossible? Too pie in the sky? Well, when one chooses to love all, inherent in this relationship is the possibility that all can learn to love each one.